What kind of man straps his dying dog into a sidecar instead of letting her fade quietly at home? I have buried brothers. I have buried my wife. I have seen the inside of too many funeral homes to count. But nothing prepared me for the day the vet looked me in the eye and said, "She has got weeks. Maybe days. Best thing you can do is make her comfortable." Rosie had been my shadow for 15 years, a mutt with one floppy ear, greying whiskers, and eyes that spoke louder than words. She was not just a dog. She was the last piece of my wife I had left. When cancer took Mary, Rosie never left my side. Through nights of whiskey and silence, she would press her head against my knee, like she was holding me together with nothing but patience. When the house grew too quiet, Rosie breathed, and that was enough. Now the vet wanted me to schedule the end, a metal table, a cold needle, a quiet room. After all the years she kept me alive, that was supposed to be her reward. Not my Rosie. That night, sitting on the porch with the crickets buzzing and my knees aching from old rides and older sins, I made her a promise. "Girl," I whispered, stroking the scar along her ear, "you are not leaving this world in some damn clinic. You are leaving it on the road, the way you lived, wind in your face, your heart beating against mine." Her tail thumped once, weak but steady, like she understood. The next morning, I dragged the Harley out of the shed. The chrome was dull, paint chipped, seat cracked from too many summers in the sun. But when I turned the key and hit the starter, the engine roared like an old war cry. I pulled the dust cover off the sidecar. Mary used to ride there sometimes before her hips gave out. I lined it with Rosie's blanket, tucked in her favorite chew toy, and strapped down a pair of ridiculous dog goggles I would bought years ago as a joke. Rosie staggered toward me, ribs showing, legs shaky. For a moment, I wondered if I was crazy, if asking her to ride was cruel. Then she looked at the sidecar. She wagged her tail, climbed in slow, steady, sat down like she would been waiting for this moment her whole life. That was answer enough. We rolled out of the driveway just past sunrise. The road was empty, dew still clinging to the grass. Rosie's head lifted with the first gust of wind. Ears back, eyes half closed. For the first time in months, she looked alive. And me, I felt 20 years younger. The miles blurred Oyo backroads, fields stretching endless, barns leaning like old men waiting for time to knock them over. Rosie sniffed the air, eyes darting, tail twitching. Every time I glanced at her, I saw something I had not seen since Mary died. But joy has a way of pulling ghosts out of hiding. At a gas station in Kentucky, I caught sight of a bike in my mirror. Black Sportster. Loud pipes. Kid in his 20s riding it like he wanted to kill himself. He would been behind me for 30 miles. When I pulled over, he did too. "Nice dog," he said, killing the engine. "Nog." I snapped. "She is family." He grinned. "Yeah, I know. Rosie, right?" My hand froze on the gas pump. "How the hell do you know her name?" The kid reached into his jacket. For a second, my old instincts screamed fight. But he did not pull a weapon. He pulled out a photograph. It was Mary. My Mary, standing beside this kid in front of the diner she used to work at, Rosie a pup in her arms. I felt the world tilt. She told me about you, the kid said quietly, told me if I ever found you on the road, to ride with you. I stared at him, the picture trembling in my hand. Mary had been gone for years, and yet here was this stranger, knowing her name. Rosie's name. My name. The dog in the sidecar gave a soft whine, like she knew something I did not. Who the hell are you? I asked. The kid smiled faintly, eyes wet. Name's Jake. And your wife? She asked me to find you. She said one day you would need me. The gas station fell silent. Only the ticking of hot engines cooling in the morning air. Rosie lifted her head, eyes locked on Jake like she recognized him. And for the first time in weeks, she barked. Part 2, Ghosts of the Road. What do you do when a stranger shows up claiming your dead wife sent him to you? The picture shook in my hands like it was alive. Mary. My Mary, smiling in a way I had not seen in years. Hair pulled back, grease-stained apron from the diner, Rosie just a pup in her arms. And standing next to her, younger than he was now but unmistakable, was this kid Jake. I do not understand. I muttered, my throat dry. Mary died 10 years ago. How the hell? She told me things. Jake cut. His voice was not cocky anymore. It was careful. Almost reverent. Said if the day ever came when you looked lost, I would find you, ride with you, help you. I wanted to laugh in his face, shove him back on that Sportster, and peel off down the highway until the memory burned out of my head. But Rosie whined, not her usual restless sound. This was different, low, deep, like she was telling me to listen. The dog had always known more than I gave her credit for. Bullshit, I said finally, shoving the photo back at him. She would not keep something like this from me. Mary told me everything. Jake shook his head. She did not. She was protecting you. The way he said it calm, certain, made my fists clench. Nobody talked about Mary like that. Nobody. Listen, kid. I growled, stepping closer. I do not know what scam you are running, but you picked the wrong old man. I am not running anything. He snapped back, surprising me with the steel in his voice. Mary, she saved me. The engines around us ticked in the summer heat. Rosie's eyes flicked from me to Jake and back again. What do you mean she saved you? I asked. Quieter now. He swallowed, looked down at his boots. When I was 17, I was strung out bad. Meth. Nobody cared if I lived or died. Your wife. She found me behind the diner one night, shaking so bad I could not stand. She fed me, got me into a program, checked on me every week until I got clean. My chest tightened. That was Mary. All right. She had a way of finding broken things and patching them up. God knows she would done it with me. She told me you were stubborn. Jake went on, that you would never let anyone see you weak. She said if something ever happened to her, you would try to carry it all alone, and one day, when the weight got too heavy, I would see you on the road. She said I would know it by the dog. Rosie barked once short, sharp, like a stamp of approval. I turned away, staring at the highway stretching south. I hated how much of me wanted to believe him. You are saying Mary planned this 10 damn years ago? I asked, my voice rough. Jake shrugged. I am saying she knew you better than anyone. And she knew someday you would need somebody riding with you, whether you wanted it or not. We rode together after that, not side by side at first. I kept him a bike length behind, watching him in my mirrors, half expecting him to disappear like smoke. But mile after mile, he stayed there, never pushed, never tried to lead, just kept pace, like he had been riding with me his whole life. Rosie did not take her eyes off him. Every time I glanced down at the sidecar, she was looking his way. Hell, she looked more alert than she had in months. We crossed Tennessee in silence, the road humming under our wheels. At night we camped at a rest stop. Rosie curled against me under her blanket. Jake kept his distance, but I could feel him watching the way I stroked Rosie's head, whispering promises into her fur. Why the ocean? He asked on the second night, poking the fire with a stick. I stiffened. What? You are heading south. I know that. Look, you have got a destination. Why the ocean? I did not answer right away. Truth was, I had not told anyone, not even Rosie, but Mary's words kept echoing in my head someday. Take her to the sea. Let her see it once before she goes. She always wanted Rosie to feel sand under her paws. I said finally. Never got the chance. Jake nodded like he understood. Then we will get her there. I hated that but I did not argue. By the time we hit Alabama, Rosie was fading again, her steps slower, her breathing heavier. Every mile was borrowed time. We pulled into a diner off Highway 72, the kind of place with faded signs and coffee that tastes like burnt tar. I carried Rosie inside, her head against my chest, and set her gently on the booth seat beside me. The waitress froze. Is that dog? Family? I corrected. She did not argue, just poured coffee and brought Rosie a bowl of water. That is when I saw them 3 bikers in the corner, watching us too closely. Leather vests. Old patches. Faces I had not seen in years. One of them stood. Big Joe. I got twisted. We had ridden together 30 years back, fought side by side, then hated each other enough to throw punches in a bar parking lot. We had not spoken since. Well, I will be damned. Joe said, his voice like gravel, if it is not Grizzly. And look at you, Gray. Limping, holding around a dying dog like some sad clown act. Jake tensed beside me. I kept my eyes on my coffee. Still running your mouth. I said finally, guess some things do not change. He sneered. What is the plan? Grizz. Take the mutt on a cross-country funeral march. Pathetic. Before I could answer, Rosie lifted her head, looked Joe dead in the eyes, and wagged her tail. Joe froze. For a second, just a second, something flickered across his face like he remembered Mary's laugh, the way she used to break up our fights with a single word. He sat back down without another word. Jake leaned close. Who the hell was that old ghost? I muttered. But the ghosts were not done with me yet. We left the diner at sundown, the sky bleeding purple over the highway. Rosie lay in the sidecar, chest rising and falling shallow. I kept my eyes on the road, but my ears caught the low rumble behind us. More bikes. Not Jake, not Joe. Different sound. Meaner. Headlights filled my mirrors. 6, maybe 7 of them. Closing fast. Jake noticed too. You know them? Yeah, I said, my gut turning cold. I know them. They pulled up alongside us, patches I recognized from another life. Rival crew. Men we would gone to war with on backroads years ago. Men I thought I would never see again. The leader grinned, yellow teeth flashing. Well, if it is not Grizzly. Didn't think you had the guts to show your face on our road again. Rosie whimpered low, curling deeper into the sidecar. Jake's hand went to the knife on his belt. And me, I tightened my grip on the bars, the old fire sparking in my chest. This ride had just gotten a hell of a lot more dangerous. The rival bikers boxed us in. Engines snarling. Eyes hungry. Rosie struggled to sit up, her gaze fixed on the man leading them. And that is when I saw his face scar running from ear to chin, same as the night Mary's car got run off the road. My blood went ice cold, because the bastard grinning at me through the smoke was the man who killed my wife. Part 3. Old brothers. Old wounds. What do you do when the man who killed your wife pulls up beside your dying dog? The road narrowed, and the night swallowed us whole. 7 bikes boxed me in, their engines snarling like wolves. Rosie shifted in the sidecar, trying to rise, but her legs trembled too much. I reached down, brushed her head with my glove, and felt her calm under my touch. Keep her steady, girl, I whispered. The leader leaned close, that scar twisting his grin. You remember me? Grizzly. My throat burned. Of course I remembered. That night 10 years ago, Mary had been driving home from the diner. I was supposed to meet her, but I was late, always late. A rival crew cut her off on a back road. She swerved, rolled. The scarred bastard had been the one chasing her. The cops called it an accident. I called it murder. And now here he was, alive, grinning at me like fate had dragged us together. Jake noticed the change in me. Who's he? The man who stole my wife. I growled. Jake's jaw tightened. Then let us end this. Not here. Not with Rosie in the sidecar, chest heaving shallow. I could not risk her. Not yet. I muttered. The gang laughed. Circling tighter. Their pipes cracked like gunfire, making Rosie flinch. The scarred man leaned in again. Looks like your mutt's dying. He jeered. Guess everything you love dies around you. Huh. Grizz. I wanted to tear him off that bike, rip him apart with my bare hands, but I forced myself to keep steady. The promise was not about me, it was about Rosie. You boys really want to do this here? I said, my voice steady. On a highway in the dark. You want blood. Wait till daylight. Otherwise, get the hell out of my way. Something in my tone made them hesitate. Scarface sneered, but he pulled back. You got one day, old man. Tomorrow night, down by Miller's Creek. We settle this. You show up or we come find you. Their engines howled, and just like that, they peeled off into the night. The silence left behind was deafening. Jake rode up beside me. We can just let them. I said tomorrow. I cut him off. My grip on the bars was iron. Tonight, Rosie rides. We made camp in an abandoned barn just past the county line. The boards creaked. The smell of hay still clung to the air. I laid Rosie down on her blanket. Her breath shallow but steady. She licked my hand once. Her eyes tired but trusting. Jake sat cross-legged across the fire we would built, shadows cutting hard across his face. You can fight them tomorrow, he said finally. Not with her this week. Not with you. Don T. My voice cracked like a whip. He did not flinch. You are 72. Grizz. Your back's shot. Your knees are worse. And those guys, they are killers. They do not care about you. They will put a bullet in your head before you can blink. I stared into the flames, watching them eat the wood like anger eats a man from the inside out. They killed my wife. I whispered. And they get to keep breathing. Jake leaned forward. So what? You die tomorrow. Who keeps the promise to Rosie? You think she wants to watch you go out like that? The words hit hard, because they were true. The promise was not vengeance. The promise was the ride. I reached over, stroked Rosie's fur. Her tail flicked weakly. Jake lowered his voice. Let me fight them. I barked a laugh, bitter and sharp. Kid, you think Mary pulled you out of the gutter, just so you could throw your life away on my war? He looked straight at me. Maybe she saved me for this. Maybe this is why. The fire popped. Rosie sighed. My chest ached with too many years of carrying rage. Too many nights talking to ghosts. I shook my head. Tomorrow, I will face them. But tonight, she rides. We left at dawn, the sky bleeding pink. The road carried us south, deeper into memories I would try to bury. Every mile felt heavier, but Rosie lifted her head to the wind, eyes half shut like she was dreaming. By midday, we rolled into an old roadside bar I had not seen in decades. The sign was faded, letters peeling, the Iron Horse. Inside, the air was thick with smoke, the jukebox humming a country tune that had not been updated in 20 years. And sitting at the corner table was another ghost, Big Joe. He looked older, heavier, moustache gone grey, but those shoulders, that jaw, I would know him anywhere. His eyes landed on me, then on Rosie in the sidecar outside. For a long moment, he did not move. Then he stood, walked over slow, boots heavy on the wood floor. Well, look who crawled back out of the grave. Joe said, Didn't he think you would still be standing? I muttered. He snorted. Plenty of us thought you were dead after Mary. Hell, maybe you were. The tension was thick. We would once been brothers in the same patch, rode 1,000 miles together, then one night of fists and fury split us apart for good. You should not be on the road, he said finally, jerking his chin toward Rosie. Dog that's sick, it is cruel. My blood boiled. You call it cruel. I call it keeping a promise. He shook his head, eyes softer than I expected. I was at Mary S. funeral. You were not. You could not even look at her in that box. You ran, and now you are dragging her dog down a death march to make yourself feel better. Jake bristled. Watch your mouth. Joe looked him up and down. And who the hell's this pup? Jake, I said. Mary saved him once. Joe blinked. Mary. He looked at Rosie, at me, then back again. Something shifted in his face. He stepped closer, reached a hand toward Rosie through the open door. She sniffed, then licked his fingers weakly. Joe froze. Eyes wet. She always loved that mutt. He muttered. Used to say Rosie was her heart. I swallowed hard. Couldn't he speak? Joe pulled back. Tomorrow. Miller S. Creek. I heard. You were walking into a grave. I stood, jaw tight. Maybe, but if I do not, they come for me. They come for Jake. They come for Rosie. Joe studied me for a long time. Then he sighed. Damn fool. He slapped the bar twice, signaled the bartender, and muttered, Then I guess the brothers ride again. That night, we camped near the creek. The sound of rushing water filled the dark. Rosie lay curled between me and Jake, her breath shallow, her body small against the weight of everything. I stroked her fur and whispered, Tomorrow, girl, just one more ride. After that, I do not know what happens. She opened her eyes, just for a moment, and licked my hand. The fire burned low. Jake sharpened his knife. Joe cleaned a shotgun. The ghosts were gathering, and the night felt heavy with the smell of fate. From across the creek, engines growled in the dark. Headlights cut through the trees. The rival gang was early. Scarface's voice echoed through the night. Tomorrow. Tonight. Rosie stirred, pressing her head against my boot like she knew. And I realized this was not about tomorrow anymore. The war had come for us now. Part 4, the rival gang. How do you fight men who already killed your wife when your dying dog is sitting in the crossfire? The engines came first, low and hungry, echoing through the trees. Then headlights sliced the dark, bouncing off the water of Miller's Creek. They are early. Joe muttered, chambering around into his shotgun. Bastards did not even wait for daylight. Jake's knife caught the firelight as he rose. Fine. We will cut them down tonight. I stroked Rosie's fur. She lifted her head weakly, eyes shining in the glow of the campfire. She was not afraid. She never was, but her body trembled with every growl of the approaching engines. Stay down, girl. I whispered. Stay with me. The bikes roared into the clearing, 7 of them. Same as before. Scarface led the pack, his grin twisted by that jagged line down his cheek. He killed the engine first. The others followed, one by, until the night was thick with silence and exhaust. Well, well, Scarface said, swinging off his bike. The old man brought friends. His eyes slid to Rosie in the sidecar. And the mutt. My fists tightened. You wanted tomorrow, I said. But you are here now. So let us finish this. Scarface laughed. Finish what? You were finished the day Mary hit that ditch. Jake lunged forward, knife flashing, but I caught his arm. Not yet. I hissed. Scarface's grin widened. So the kid knows? Did you tell him how she screamed? Did you tell him how she begged for you? The words cut deeper than any blade. I stepped forward, the weight of years crashing down. You killed her? He shrugged. She swerved. Her fault. Wrong place. Wrong time. But hey, at least you have got your mutt. He nodded toward Rosie. That was the last straw. Joe raised his shotgun, but Scarface's men drew first pistols. Chains. Knives glinting in the firelight. The air snapped with tension. Every heartbeat a fuse waiting to blow. Back off? Scarface sneered. We are taking the dog. Call it payment for old debts. I froze. You lay one hand on her, and I swear to God. What? He cut me off. Stepping closer. You will fight us all. You are a crippled old man with a half-dead dog. You do not scare me any more. Grizzly. That is when Rosie moved. She struggled to her feet in the sidecar. Legs trembling. Chest heaving. And she barked loud. Sharp. Defiant. The sound cracked through the night like a gunshot. The gang actually flinched. And in that heartbeat of hesitation, I moved. My fist caught Scarface square on the jaw, dropping him to the dirt. Joe's shotgun roared, scattering two men back. Jake swung his knife, slashing a chain out of the air before it wrapped around me. The clearing exploded in chaos. Engines screamed back to life as bikes surged forward, kicking up dirt and firelight. Rosie barked again, her voice hoarse but furious, like she knew this fight was hers too. Scarface spat blood, snarling as he rose. Kill them. I grabbed a broken branch from the fire and swung it like a club, knocking a pistol from one man's hand. Jake ducked low, driving his blade into the thigh of another. Joe's shotgun thundered again, the blast echoing across the creek. But we were outnumbered. For every one we knocked down, two more pressed in. One biker lunged at Rosie, reaching for her collar. Her jaws snapped, teeth sinking into his wrist. He howled, stumbling back as blood dripped down his arm. Good girl. I growled, pulling her back against me. Scarface came at me again. Knife flashing. I caught his wrist, the blade inches from my throat. His breath reeked of whiskey, his eyes wild. This ends tonight. He hissed. Damn right it does. I spat. I twisted, felt his wrist snap under the torque, the knife clattering to the dirt. I kicked it away, sent him staggering back. But then gunfire. A bullet tore through the night, slamming into the sidecar. Rosie yelped, collapsing against the blanket. My scream split the clearing. I dropped to my knees, hands on her trembling body. Blood seeped between my fingers, hot and slick. Stay with me, Rosie. Please, girl. Stay with me. Her eyes flicked open, cloudy but steady. She licked my hand once, weak but certain. Scarface laughed, cradling his broken wrist. Looks like she is going down tonight after all. Jake roared, charging him, but two men grabbed the kid, slamming him into the dirt. She fired again, but he was running low, the shotgun coughing empty. We were losing. Rosie. Wing whimpered, pressing her head into my chest. I could feel her fading. And then headlights. From the far side of the clearing, a new rumble rose. Deep. Powerful. Familiar. One bike. More bikes poured in, chrome gleaming. Pipes roaring like thunder. Big Jim. Phoenix. Spider. Dutch. The brothers. They would herd. They would come. The rival gang froze as 20 more Harleys surrounded the creek. Engines growling like an army. Scarface's grin faltered. Joe laughed, low and savage. Looks like the family reunion just started. The fight flipped in seconds. Our brothers stormed in. Fists flying. Chains snapping. Engines revving to blind the enemy in smoke and dirt. The rival gang broke under the weight, scattering like rats. Scarface tried to run, limping to his bike with his busted wrist. But I caught him before he could fire it up. I ripped him off the seat and slammed him into the ground. 10 years. I growled, my knee on his chest. 10 years I have waited for this. He spat blood in my face. Then do it. I raised my fist, then froze. Rosie's whimper echoed behind me. I looked back. She was lying still, chest rising shallow, eyes locked on me. Pleading. Not for vengeance. For mercy. For peace. My fist lowered. Scarface sneered. Still weak. I whispered, standing over him, I am done carrying you. I let him crawl away, broken and beaten, as the brothers closed in to chase the rest of his crew out into the night. Jake staggered to my side, blood on his cheek. Why did not you finish him? I stroked Rosie's fur, tears burning my eyes. Because this ride is not about him. It is about her. We loaded Rosie gently into the sidecar again. Big Jim's hand rested heavy on my shoulder. She all right? I shook my head. She is holding on. Barely. Phoenix knelt, his flame tattoos catching the firelight. Then we ride. No stopping. Straight to the ocean. Give her what Mary wanted. I looked at Rosie. Her eyes were half shut, her breath shallow, but her tail tapped once against the blanket. She wanted it too. We roared out of Miller's Creek with 20 bikes in formation, engines shaking the earth. Rosie lay in the sidecar, her head resting on the blanket, eyes closing with each mile. The storm clouds rolled over the horizon, black and heavy. Rain began to fall, and for the first time, I was not sure if Rosie would survive the night. Part 5: The Storm. What kind of fool rides into a thunderstorm with a dying dog, because breaking a promise feels worse? The sky was already bruising black when we left Miller's Creek. Clouds stacked heavy on the horizon, fat with rain, lit from within by angry veins of lightning. Big Jim shouted over the engines. We should wait it out. But Rosie did not have time to wait. Her breaths were shallow, each rise of her chest slower than the last. I stroked her head in the sidecar, whispering words she could not hear but maybe still felt. No more waiting. Girl. Not this time. so we rode into the storm. The first drops hit like stones against my face. The wind whipped sideways, trying to shove the bike off the road. Rosie shifted, curling tighter into the blanket, her goggles fogging from the wet. I wanted to turn back. I wanted to stop. But the promise roared louder than the thunder. Around me, the brothers pulled close, their headlights forming a wall against the darkness. Joe on my left, Jake on my right, Phoenix behind me, flames tattooed on his neck glowing each time lightning split the sky. The storm hit full force a mile later, rain slashed sideways, soaking us to the bone. The road shone slick, oil bleeding rainbow through the water. My hands ached from gripping the bars, my knees screaming with every vibration. Grizz. Jake's voice barely carried over the thunder. We need shelter? I shook my head. She needs the ocean. As if to prove my point, Rosie lifted her head. Weak. Trembling. But there, she pressed her nose against the rain, eyes half shut, and for a moment, just a moment, she looked like a pup again, alive in the storm. Lightning lit her face, and I saw Mary there too, smiling through the rain. We pushed on, but the storm grew worse. Water ran across the blacktop like rivers, every corner a gamble. My back screamed, my vision blurred, and then disaster. The Harley coughed, sputtered, and died. I coasted to the shoulder, heart pounding. The others circled back, headlights cutting the sheets of rain. What happened? Big Jim shouted. Drowned out. I cursed, kicking the starter to no use. She is flooded. Panic clawed at me. Not for the bike. For Rosie. She was curled tight in the sidecar. Shaking, her breath ragged. If we stopped now, if we lost momentum, she might not make it through the night. I slammed my fist against the tank. Not like this. Not here. Jake knelt beside the bike, rain plastering his hair to his face. We can fix it. Just give me a minute. We do not have a minute. I roared, but Rosie whimpered. Her paw reached out, resting weakly against my arm. I froze. Her eyes found mine through the storm. Cloudy, tired, but steady. It was not anger she was giving me. It was patience. Faith. Do it, I growled at Jake. Fix it. He nodded. Hands flying. Joe and Phoenix stood guard, eyes scanning the road, guns hidden under wet leather. The storm raged around us, but the kid worked like a machine. Minutes stretched like hours. Rosie's breath slowed. My heart felt like it was cracking. Then the engine roared back to life. Jake grinned, teeth white through the rain. Told you. I grabbed his shoulder. Squeezed hard. Good man. We loaded Rosie back, tucking the blanket tighter around her. She shivered once, then pressed her head into it. Calm again. We rode all night. The storm chased us like death itself, lightning splitting the sky, thunder rattling our bones. But mile after mile, Rosie held on. Every time I thought she would slip away, she would stir, lift her nose to the wind, as if reminding me she was not done yet. By dawn, the rain thinned. The clouds broke into tattered grey. bleeding pale light across the wet highway. We pulled into a deserted gas station, water dripping from our leathers, steam rising off the bikes. I lifted Rosie gently from the sidecar, cradling her against my chest. She was lighter than ever, bone sharp under fur. Jake spread out his jacket on the concrete, and I laid her down. She sighed, long and shaky, but her eyes opened. She looked around at the brothers gathered big Jim, Phoenix, Dutch. Spider and her tail tapped weakly against the ground. She is tougher than all of us, Phoenix said softly. Damn right, I whispered, kneeling beside her. Rosie's gaze landed on me, then on the horizon. Her nose twitched. Even through the storm, she could smell it, the salt. The sea was close. She knows, I said. She knows we are near. We rested just long enough to refuel, then mounted up again. The road wound south, the air turning warm, heavy with the scent of brine. Rosie lifted her head at every mile marker, ears twitching, eyes bright despite the exhaustion. But storms do not end easy. A mile from the coast, the sky split open again. The second wave of the storm rolled in hard, blacker and meaner than before. The brothers hesitated. We wait this one, Dutch said. I growled. We finish it. Tonight, Rosie barked once, a broken sound but fierce, as if she agreed. So we rode. Rain slammed us again. Blinding sheets. Lightning striking so close the air burned. The road twisted along the cliffs, waves crashing far below. Tires slipped. Engines roared, every heartbeat a prayer. I could feel Rosie pressing against the sidecar wall, fighting the storm with me. Every gust threatened to push us over, but the promise held me steady. Hang on, girl, I whispered through clenched teeth. We're almost there. And then it happened. The Harley skidded. One sharp curve, slick with rain, and the rear tire slid out. My stomach dropped as the bike tilted, sidecar lurching toward the cliff. Rosie yelped. I fought the bars with everything I had left. My arm screamed. My back felt like it would snap, but somehow by God or luck or Mary's hand I pulled it straight. We wobbled, fishtailed, then found traction again. I pulled to the shoulder. Heart pounding, rain streaming down my face like tears. I looked at Rosie. She was sprawled in the sidecar, panting hard, eyes wide, but she was alive. I pressed my forehead against hers, rain and sweat mingling. Never again, girl. Never again. Behind me, the brothers pulled up, engines idling in the storm. Nobody spoke. They all knew how close we would come. We pushed through the last mile, slow, steady. The rain eased as if the storm had spent itself. And then there it was. The ocean. Endless. Grey-blue. Waves crashing against the sand. Rosie lifted her head. Ears twitching. Her nose worked the air, and her eyes lit with something I had not seen in months. Recognition. Fulfillment. We made it, girl. I whispered, just like Mary wanted. Her paw reached for me, pressing against my hand. Weak, gentle. But enough. The brothers circled around, engine silent now, as I carried Rosie toward the sand. She felt lighter with every step, like the storm had taken some of her weight. I laid her down where the waves kissed the shore. She sighed. Peaceful. Her eyes fluttered shut. And when I looked down at her collar, I noticed something tucked beneath it, a folded piece of paper, worn with age. Mary's handwriting. A secret I was never meant to see until this moment. Part 6 Secrets in the Sidecar. What if the woman you buried years ago left a secret message hidden on your dying dog's collar? The ocean stretched endless in front of us, grey-blue under a bruised sky. The brothers stood in a wide circle. Engines cut, leather dripping from the storm. For the first time in days, there was silence. I lowered Rosie onto the sand, her body light as smoke in my arms. She settled into the damp grains, eyes half shut, nose twitching as the salt air washed over her. For a moment, she looked at peace, and then I saw it, something tucked beneath her worn leather collar. A piece of paper, folded, yellowed, fragile. My hands shook as I slipped it free. The edges were frayed, the ink blurred from sweat and rain. But I knew the handwriting instantly. Mary. I had not seen her words in a decade. Not like this. Not fresh. Not waiting. The brothers drew closer, heads bowed against the wind. Jake crouched at my side, his eyes wide. What is it? I unfolded the paper with trembling fingers. The first words blurred my vision before I even finished reading them. Grizz. If you are reading this, it means Rosie carried you here. It means you kept the promise I knew you would make. I had to stop, my throat closing. The world felt like it was tilting. Joe laid a hand on my shoulder. Read it. Brother. I forced myself to continue. I did not tell you everything. I could not. You would have tried to protect me, and some things can be protected. You need to know that the night I crashed, it was not just bad luck. They came for me. You know who I mean. If you are reading this, then you have seen him again. My fists tightened around the paper. Scarface. But this letter is not about them. It is about you. About Rosie. About Jake. I glanced at the kid. He flinched like the words had slapped him. She knew. He whispered. I kept reading. I found Jake when he was broken. I saw the fire in him. The same fire I once saw in you. I told him one day he would find you. Because I knew you would need him. You would need someone to remind you that life does not end with loss. The paper shook in my hands. Rosie stirred, paw pressing against my boot as if to steady me. Rosie is your anchor, but she can't stay forever. When she is gone, do not crawl into the grave with her. Don't vanish into whiskey and silence. Promise me you will ride. Promise me you will let Jake carry some of the weight. He is stronger than he knows. And you? Grizz, you are stronger than your grief. The words blurred again. I wiped my eyes with the back of my hand, salty water mixing with tears. The last line cut deepest of all. When Rosie touches the sea, let her go, and let yourself live again. I folded the letter slowly, holding it against my chest like it was Mary's hand itself. The brothers stood in silence. Heads bowed. Joe's voice was rough when he finally spoke. She knew everything. Hell of a woman. Phoenix lit a cigarette with shaking hands. So what now? You gonna let the dog go here? I looked down at Rosie. She was staring at the waves, tail flicking weakly. Her breath rattled, but there was no fear in her eyes. Only waiting. Not yet. I whispered. She is still fighting. Jake sat cross-legged in the sand, his eyes burning. She wanted me here. Your wife. She trusted me. I do not know why. Because she saw you, I said. Voice breaking. The way she saw me. He looked away. Jaw tight. The sky darkened again, thunder rumbling far out to sea. The storm was not finished. Dutch cursed under his breath. We can stay here long. Weather's turning again. Big Jim nodded. We ride inland. Find shelter. Then decide what is next. But I did not move. Couldn't he? My knees were sunk in the wet sand beside Rosie. Mary's letter clutched tight. Jake touched my arm gently. Grizz, we can come back. She will still see the ocean. You do not have to. Rosie lifted her head and barked once. Weak, broken, but defiant. The brothers froze. She says she is not done. Spider muttered, Damn dog-s tougher than us all. I slid the letter into my vest, close to my heart. All right, girl, one more ride. We pushed inland just as the rain came down again. Sheets of water hammered us. The sky split by lightning. The roads turned to rivers. The Harley coughed, sputtered, then caught. Jake rode tight on my flank. Joe behind with his shotgun strapped across his back. Rosie huddled in the sidecar, her blanket soaked, her fur plastered, but her eyes still locked forward like she knew exactly where we were headed. Halfway up a winding hill, the road turned to mud. Tires slipped. Dutch's bike skidded sideways, nearly toppling, but Big Jim hauled him steady with one massive hand. The storm howled louder, bending trees, tearing branches across the road. This is suicide. Joe bellowed. I shouted back, this is a promise. By nightfall we found shelter in a collapsed barn off a dirt road. The roof was half gone, but it was enough to keep the worst of the rain off. We built a fire from broken boards. The brothers stripped wet leathers, steam rising from their shoulders. Rosie lay curled near the flames, her breathing shallow but even. I fed her water from my cupped hands. She licked them weakly, then rested her head on my knee. Jake stared at the fire, silent. Finally, he spoke. Why did not you kill him? His voice was tight, angry. Who? I asked. Scarface. You had him. You could have ended it. I looked into the flames, remembering the knife. The blood. Rosie's eyes on me. Because vengeance does not keep promises, I said quietly. It just breaks more of them. Jake shook his head. If you let him live, he will come back. I know. Silence stretched. Joe broke it. Mary's letter. She knew. She trusted you. Grizz. She trusted that dog. She even trusted this kid. He jerked his chin at Jake. So maybe it is time we start trusting her too. I nodded slowly. Tomorrow, we ride again. Rosie touches the sea in the morning. Then, we will see what is left of us. That night, the storm battered the barn, wind howling through the broken rafters. I lay with Rosie against me, her heartbeat faint but steady. Mary's letter pressed warm against my chest. Sleep came in fits, every time my eyes closed. I dreamed of her Mary standing at the edge of the ocean, Rosie beside her, waving me forward. When I woke, the fire was down to embers. The brothers slept in a ring around us. Shadows curled like guardians. But Rosie was awake, her eyes locked on me. Unblinking, full of something I could not name. And that is when I saw it. Her collar was not empty. There was more, a tiny metal tube, taped inside the lining. I pried it free with numb fingers. Heart pounding. Inside was another piece of paper. Smaller, torn. Just 3 words, written in Mary's hand. Trust the kid. My hands trembled as I stared at the words. Mary had not just left me Rosie. She had not just left me promises. She would left me Jake. And I realized, with a cold weight in my gut, that this ride was not only about Rosie's last journey. It was about who would carry the road when she was gone. Part 7, The Betrayal. What happens when the man you trust to guard your dying dog is the first one to turn against you? Morning broke, grey and heavy. The storms left of us crawling east. The barn smelled of wet wood and smoke. Rosie lay against me, chest rising slow but steady, her head pressed into my palm. She had not moved all night except to breathe, and each breath felt like a gift I did not deserve. I unfolded Mary's second note again. The 3 words burned into me like brands. Trust the kid. I kept staring at Jake across the fire. He was asleep, face smeared with road grime, hair stuck in damp curls to his forehead. Young, unscared, but Mary had seen something in him, something I had not yet. Joe stirred first, joints popping as he stood. He reached for his shotgun like he always did. Casual, automatic, but something in the way he looked at me was different. Colder. You read that letter again? He asked. Yeah, I said. His eyes flicked to Jake, then back to me, and I hesitated. Mary said to trust him. Joe's mouth curled into a bitter smile. Mary always had a soft spot for strays. Something in his tone made my gut tighten. We packed up slow. The brothers kicked dirt over the fire. Tightened straps. Checked guns. The storm had left the road muddy, but the sun was peeking weakly through the clouds. Rosie stirred at the sound of engines, lifting her head. Weak, tired, but present. Always present. Today, I said, loud enough for all of them. She touches the sea proper. We ride to the shore, no matter what. They nodded, but Joe did not. He just stared at me, jaw clenched, like he was chewing something bitter. We rolled out, 20 bikes deep, the sound like thunder returning to the earth. Jake stayed tight on my flank. Joe hung back a little, watching. I should have noticed sooner. By midday, we stopped at a run-down diner. Rosie needed water, so did. The place was nearly empty, just a tired waitress and a couple truckers at the counter. We slid into a booth. Rosie curled beside me on the bench. She licked water from a bowl, then rested her head against my leg, sighing. That is when Joe spoke. "This is madness," he said, voice flat, dragging her across half the country. Through storms, through fights. She should have been put down days ago. Every head at the table snapped toward him. "You watch your mouth." Jake snarled. Joe leaned back, arms crossed. "I am saying what everyone's thinking. Look at her. She is dying. And Grizz here is too blind to see it. He is chasing ghosts while that dog suffers." My fists curled. "You do not know what the hell you are talking about." He slammed his palm on the table. "Don T.A. I was there when Mary was buried. You were not. You ran. And now you are dragging us all on some fool's errand, because you can bury another thing you love." The diner went dead quiet. Even the waitress froze. Jake stood, knife flashing in his hand. "Say that again." Joe's eyes narrowed. "Put the knife down, kid. You are out of your league." I stood too, the weight of the room pressing in. Rosie stirred at the tension, whining low. "Enough," I said, voice low but sharp. "You do not want to do this." But he did. I saw it in his eyes. He was not just angry. He was scared. Scared of watching me throw Rosie's last breaths at the road. "You are not the man you used to be," he said. "And if you want to let her go, I will do it for you." Before I could move, he reached for the shotgun. The world slowed. Jake lunged across the table. The brothers shouted. Rosie barked. A broken, ragged sound. I caught Joe's wrist before he could raise the gun. Our eyes locked. 30 years of brotherhood and betrayal burning between us. "You put that down," I growled, "or I will break you." For a moment, I thought he would back off, thought the weight of the years would pull him back into line. Then the diner door banged open. Scarface, and half his crew behind him. The room erupted. Scarface grinned wide, busted wrist still wrapped in bandages. "Well, is not this a pretty picture?" The cripple, the mutt, the traitor, and the kid, his men spilled in, guns drawn, faces wild with hunger. The brothers scrambled. Tables flipped. Truckers dove for cover. Scarface pointed at Rosie. "Take the dog." Jake was already moving, shoving Rosie into my arms, a knife flashing as he blocked the first swing of a chain. Joe hesitated, shotgun half raised. His eyes darted between me and Scarface. My blood went cold. "You called them," I said. His silence was answer enough. The fight tore the diner apart. Plates shattered. Chairs splintered. Gunfire cracked against the walls. I shielded Rosie with my body, swinging a broken chair leg at the nearest man. Jake fought like a demon beside me, knife-biting flesh, his face twisted in rage. He shouted, "Get her out!" I stumbled toward the back door. Rosie pressed tight against me. The rain had started again, drumming the roof, the smell of ozone thick in the air. Scarface cut me off, his scar splitting wider with his grin. Leaving so soon? I lunged, but Joe stepped between us. "Don T," he said. I stared at him, betrayal burning hotter than the storm. "You would stand with him?" "After everything." He looked down at Rosie, at her weak, trembling body. "She deserves peace. Grizz. Not this peace." My voice cracked. Peace does not come from a bullet or a needle. Peace comes from keeping the damn promise. His jaw clenched. He did not move. Scarface laughed, savoring it. "Looks like your family ain't so loyal after all." Jake roared, slamming into Scarface from the side, driving him into a booth. The scarred man howled, fists flying. The brothers poured in from the parking lot, engine still rumbling outside. Gunfire, fists, steel, all of it clashed in the storm. And Rosie, pressed to my chest, whined once. Weak, fragile, but alive. I pushed past Joe, eyes locked on the back door. This was not the place. Not for her. Not for me. We burst into the rain, the storm swallowing us whole. The brothers fought in the doorway, holding Scarface's men back long enough for me and Jake to reach the bikes. Jake's face was bleeding, his shirt torn, but his eyes burned. I strapped Rosie into the sidecar, her breath shallow but steady. I kissed her head once, whispered into her fur, "One more mile. Girl, just one more." Engines roared, tires spun on wet pavement. The night swallowed us. Behind, I saw Joe still standing in the diner doorway, shotgun slack in his hands, torn between the life we would shared and the line he would just crossed. Scarface's voice thundered through the storm. "You can T-run forever? Grizzly. She will die before the ocean takes her." Rosie's chest rose, then stuttered. Her paw twitched, pressing weakly against my arm. "Stay with me," I begged, the storm howling like hell itself around us. Her eyes closed. For one terrifying moment, I thought she was gone, and then the sidecar filled with a sound I had not heard in months. Rosie humming, soft and broken, in rhythm with the roar of the engine. Part 8, the final chase. How far would you ride into hell if the only thing keeping your dying dog alive was the engine's roar? The rain fell sideways, needling my face, but I did not slow down. Couldn't he? Rosie was slumped in the sidecar, head pressed against her blanket, breaths rattling like loose bolts in a dying engine. Every second counted. Behind me, headlights swarmed. Scarface's crew had poured out of that diner like roaches. Engines howling, tires spitting water. The bikes glowed mean in the dark, a wall of fury chasing me down the slick highway. Jake was at my side, blood still dripping from the cut on his cheek, knife tucked back in his belt. His eyes burned through the storm. Don T let them take her. They won T. I growled. Not while I am breathing. The brothers formed up around us, Big Jim to my left, Phoenix to my right, Spider and Dutch covering the rear. 20 bikes, thundering as one, a wall of steel between Rosie and death. Scarface's laugh cut through the rain. Carried by the storm. You can run forever? Grizzly. She will die before sunrise anyway. I did not look back. My eyes stayed on the road. The promise roaring in my ears louder than any thunder. The chase tore down the 2-lane highway. Tires hissing on wet asphalt. Exhaust screaming. Trucks swerved to avoid the pack. Horns blaring. Rosie stirred with every vibration, her paw twitching against the sidecar wall. She was not gone yet. The engine was keeping her here, tethering her, and I was not about to cut that tether. Gunfire cracked. Bullets sparked against the road. One slammed into Dutch's saddlebag. Tearing leather. He swore, firing back with his pistol, muzzle flashing bright in the rain. Phoenix kicked his bike sideways, blocking 2 riders that tried to flank. His flames tattoo glowed under the lightning, his face a mask of fire and fury. Hold the line, Big Jim roared, his voice thunder itself. But Scarface broke through, his bike cutting close to mine. His eyes gleamed through the rain, his grin twisted. This ends tonight, he shouted, raising a pistol. I yanked the Harley left. Tires skidding. The shot went wide, slamming into a road sign. Rosie yelped, pressing deeper into the sidecar. Rage burned through me hotter than the storm. You do not touch her. I roared, swinging my boot out. My heel caught his bars, jerking his bike sideways. He cursed, barely recovering before slamming back into line. You can save her. He spat. She is already dead. I met his eyes, my voice low and steady even through the chaos. Not tonight. The road twisted, climbing into hills slick with rain. The brothers fell into tight formation, engine snarling like a single beast. Scarface's crew pressed closer, headlights bleeding into one blinding mass behind us. Rosie stirred again, and for a heartbeat I thought she was slipping away. But then through the storm, through the roar of the chase, she did something I had not expected. She hummed, soft, broken, but steady, in rhythm with the engine's rumble. Tears blurred my vision. That is it, girl. Stay with me, ride with me. Jake glanced down, heard it too, his face twisted. Part smile, part grief. She is singing with you, Grizz. Yeah. I whispered. She always did. Then chaos. Scarface's men surged forward in a wave. Chains swinging. Guns flashing. One rammed Spider's rear tire, sending him fishtailing into the ditch. Another clipped Dutch, nearly throwing him. Hold them. I bellowed. Jim swung his massive frame, clotheslining a rider clean off his bike. Phoenix fired 2 shots, sending another skidding into the guardrail. But Scarface kept coming, his pistol aimed dead at Rosie. I swerved, putting my body between him and the sidecar. The bullet tore into my shoulder, white-hot pain exploding down my arm. Jake screamed my name, but I did not slow. Couldn't he? Rosie whined, nose nudging my leg like she knew, like she was telling me to keep going. The promise was bigger than the pain. We hit the ridge road, cliffs dropping sheer into black waves below. Wind screamed, rain slashing sideways. One wrong move and we would be gone. Scarface rode up again, his grin savage. This is where you die, old man. I bared my teeth. Not tonight. I slammed my bike into his, metal screaming against metal. Sparks lit the storm. He fought back, shoving, engines roaring like monsters locked in war. Then Jake. The kid leapt from his bike onto Scarface, knife flashing in the lightning. They grappled, the bike wobbling hard on the slick pavement. Jake. I shouted, but it was too late. Scarface lost control. His bike skidded sideways. Tires screaming, sparks trailing like fire. Jake leapt clear at the last second, rolling hard into the mud. Scarface was not so lucky. His bike slammed the guardrail, flipped, and vanished into the waves below. The ocean swallowed him whole. Silence followed, broken only by thunder and the roar of our engines. Jake staggered up, mud and blood streaked across his face. Chest heaving. He raised his fist. He is gone. The brothers roared in triumph, engines echoing like victory drums. But I did not celebrate. I looked at Rosie. Her eyes were open, but barely. Her breath shallow, her body still. I pulled to the side. Heart breaking. Rain pouring down my face like tears. I lifted her from the sidecar, cradling her against me. Stay with me, girl. Just a little longer. The ocean's waiting. Her paw twitched against my chest, faint as a whisper, and then it stilled. My cry tore through the storm. The brothers fell silent, engines idling low. Jake stumbled to my side, eyes wide with horror. She is gone. I could not answer. I pressed my forehead to hers, sobbing into her wet fur. For a moment, the storm itself seemed to pause. Then her chest rose. One more breath. Fragile. Shaking. But there. I gasped, holding her tighter. That is it, Rosie. Stay with me. Just a little further. Her eyes fluttered, cloudy but steady, locking on mine. And in them, I saw Mary. We reached the overlook at dawn, the storm breaking into a pale sky. The ocean stretched below, waves glowing in the first light. I carried Rosie to the edge, her body trembling. Breath shallow. I set her down where the wind could reach her, where the sea could fill her nose. Her tail tapped once against the sand. She made it. Jake whispered. Voice breaking. The brothers stood in silence. Heads bowed. But I knew it was not over. Not yet. Rosie's paw nudged at her collar again, the one where Mary's first letter had been hidden. My fingers found another seam, another fold of leather, inside another scrap of paper. Mary's handwriting blurred but clear. If Rosie makes it here, tell him the truth. My stomach dropped. What truth? Part 9. The Ocean. What truth could a dead woman leave behind that matters more than vengeance, more than grief, more than death? The storm broke as suddenly as it came. One moment the sky was black. The next it was painted gold by the first thin fingers of dawn. The brothers rode in silence. Water dripping from leathers. Tires hissing against the wet blacktop. The road ended at the coast overlook. Below, the Atlantic roared endless. Grey-blue. Alive. I killed the engine and the others followed. The sudden quiet deafening. Rosie stirred in the sidecar. Her breaths were ragged, but her nose twitched at the salt in the air. Her eyes opened just enough to see at the horizon, the rolling water, the dream Mary had promised her. She made it. Jake whispered. Voice breaking. She really made it. I lifted Rosie gently, lighter than ever, and carried her down the rocky path to the sand. My knees shook under her weight, but I did not stumble. She deserved steady ground. The brothers followed, boots sinking into the wet sand, engines rumbling faintly above us like a prayer. I laid Rosie where the tide could kiss her paws. She sighed, head against my leg, tail tapping once. The ocean foamed and receded, as if bowing to her. She is home, Big Jim said softly, voice rough. But I could not ignore the weight burning in my vest, the folded scrap of paper I would found under her collar. Mary's handwriting, blurred but clear. If Rosie makes it here, tell him the truth. I stared at it until the words blurred. My hands shook. My chest felt like it was splitting open. What truth? Jake asked quietly, crouched beside me. I could not answer. Not yet. I was not ready. Mary had hidden 2 letters already. Both had cut me open, pulled me back from the grave. This one felt heavier. The brothers formed a circle around us, the ocean at our backs. I unfolded the paper slowly, afraid of what it might take from me this time. The words were short. Grizz, if Rosie is with you at the ocean, it means you did not give up. It means you kept your promise. So now I will keep mine. The night I died, it was not just them. It was me. I was sick. Grizz. The doctors told me months before the crash. I never told you. I could not. I knew you would stop living just to try to save me. I wanted you to keep riding, to keep breathing, to find the boy, to take him as your own. My breath caught. The paper nearly slipped from my hands. Rosie was always yours. Jake will be too, if you let him. Don't waste what is left of your life chasing shadows. Don't he die with me. Live. For them. Tears blurred everything, the ocean, the sand, the brothers, Rosie's soft face. She knew. I whispered. She knew she was sick before the crash. She never told me. Joe cursed under his breath. Phoenix muttered, damn stubborn woman. But Jake's eyes locked on mine. Fierce. She wanted this. She wanted me here. With you. I could not answer. My throat was raw. My heart was breaking all over again. Rosie pressed her nose into my palm. Weak. Shaking. But alive. You hear that, girl? I whispered. She planned it all. She gave you to me. She gave me the kid. She gave me everything. Her tail tapped once against the sand. The tide crept higher, the foam hissing around Rosie's paws. She did not move. Did T flinch? Her eyes locked on the horizon, like she saw something none of us could. "She is looking for Mary," Spider said quietly. I stroked her fur, my tears falling into it. "She has already found her." The brothers stood in silence. Jake rested a hand on my shoulder. "It is," he said softly. I whispered. "Not yet." Rosie's chest rose once, twice, slow, heavy. Her paw pressed against my arm, and then stilled. The world stopped. The waves roared. Gulls cried. The wind whipped. But for me, there was nothing. Just silence. I cradled her tighter, rocking her against me like I had the night Mary died. "Girl." "Not yet." "Please." "Not yet." But she was gone. Her body was warm, but her spirit had ridden on ahead. The brothers bowed their heads. Some cried openly, rough hands covering scarred faces. Even Big Jim's shoulders shook. Jake wiped his eyes, voice breaking. "She made it, Grizz. She held on until the ocean. She kept the promise too." I kissed Rosie's head one last time, my tears wetting her fur. "Ride ahead, girl. Find her. Tell her I kept it." We buried her ashes later, high on the bluff overlooking the sea. A small marker, a patch of stones, a circle of engines roaring one last salute. The brothers rowed back inland to give me and Jake space. We sat on the sand, the waves eating the shoreline. I held Mary's letter again, fingers tracing the words. "She wanted me to be with you," Jake said quietly. I did not understand before, but now I do. I nodded, unable to speak. She gave me back my life. And now, she is giving me yours too. I turned to him, eyes burning. I do not know if I can. Every mile, every day, I feel like I am leaving her behind. Jake shook his head. "You are carrying her forward. Through me. Through Rosie. Through the ride." The words hit like thunder. Mary's last truth was not about death. It was about life. About carrying the road on. We mounted the Harley one last time that night. I strapped Rosie's empty blanket into the sidecar. Jake sat close behind me. The brothers formed up again. 20 strong. We rode the coastal road. Engines howling, the ocean on our left, the horizon burning with dying light. For the first time in years, I did not feel like I was running from something. I felt like I was riding toward it. We pulled over at the overlook, the one Mary always loved. I stood with Jake at my side, the ocean below. He looked at me, eyes fierce. "So what now, Grizz?" "Rosie S. gone. Mary's gone. Scarface is gone. What is left?" I held Mary's final note against my chest, my voice steady at last. "What is left is the promise." Part 10, The Last Ride. The message. Who are you when the dog you loved is gone, and the road still asks for your whole heart? We stood at the overlook until the light turned soft and the gulls settled. The ocean kept breathing like nothing had changed. Everything had. Rosie's blanket lay folded in the sidecar. I rested my hand on it the way I used to rest it on her ribs, counting the breaths and promising there would be another. Jake waited beside me, quiet, the wind pushing his hair back. Down the line, the brothers spread out in twos and threes, talking low, leaving space where they thought we needed it. We did. She got where she was going, Jake said. I nodded, and she took me with her. He watched the waves a while. What now, Grizz? I touched my vest, where Mary's notes were tucked paper worn soft from rain and hands that did not want to let go. Trust the kid. Let yourself live again. Now we ride, I said, but not to run. We rode inland that afternoon, slow and clean, the sidecar empty but not. Every time I glanced over, I saw her there anyway. Goggles crooked, tail thumping once in silent time to the engine. We stopped at a shabby shelter Mary used to donate tips to. The sign was hand-painted. The woman at the desk looked up, and her eyes widened at the wet leather, the greybeards, the sudden weight of quiet men filling her lobby. Can I help you? She asked carefully. We are not here for a replacement, I said. There is no such thing. My voice surprised me by not cracking. We are here to pay a debt. She tilted her head. We would like to cover adoption fees this month, Jake said, stepping forward before I could. Food, meds, whatever keeps the lights on. And we will be back next month, and the next. The woman pressed her lips together and nodded hard. People do not usually keep promises like that. Then we better, I said. A cage door clicked open somewhere down the hall. A small dog barked once. Uncertainly, I did not look. Some doors you do not open the same day you close another. But I took a card from the woman and slid it into my vest with Mary S. letters. A different kind of promise found a place beside the old ones. Outside, the brothers stood scattered in the gravel, engines ticking as they cooled. When I told them what we were doing, nobody argued. Phoenix just nodded and said, make it a ride. People follow a ride. Name it? Big Jim said. Rosie, run. Jake answered. Too fast. Voice steady like he had been holding it ready. I looked at him and saw what Mary had seen the fire. Sure, but also the direction. Fire without direction burns a house down. With direction, it keeps you alive in the winter. Rosie, run, I said, and the brothers repeated it like a prayer. We rode to the diner where it all broke. The window was patched with cardboard and duct tape. The waitress from that night stood in the doorway, arms crossed, shaking her head at the mess men make when they are half memory and half gunpowder. Joe was inside at the counter, alone, both hands around a mug that had long since gone cold. He did not look up when the doorbell jangled and 20 men walked in. He did not look up when Jake took a step toward him with that like it, or not set to his jaw. He looked up when I said his name. He turned. Whatever he would rehearsed on the ride here fell apart the second our eyes met. The hardness slid off his face and left a man who'd gotten old the same way I had, one funeral at a time. I thought I was saving her, he said. No preamble. No defense. Saving you. I picked up the phone and called the devil, because I thought it would end the hurting faster. That is my truth. It is not an excuse. You almost got her killed. Jake said. Voice flat. Jo nodded once. I know. The room went quiet enough to hear the old clock clicking on the wall. Every man in there had their own version of this scene somewhere in their past, the moment you admit you were a coward, where you should have been a brother. Mary left me letters, I said. She told me a lot about promises. None of them had the word easy in them. Jo set the mug down. You going to throw me out? I looked at the shotgun in the rack behind the counter, at the patched window, at the waitress who de-taped it herself while men bled on her tile. You wanted to end something, I said. You did. The part where we pretend we are not responsible for each other. He swallowed. What do you need me to do? The answer came out of me before I had time to dress it up. Carry her blanket. He stared at me. On your bike, I said. Up front, where you can see it every mile. Not as punishment. I touched the sidecar, as penance that turns into purpose. His eyes filled in a way I would seen once or twice before guys who could not cry at their mama's funeral, but would fall apart at the sight of a small thing that meant everything. He nodded. I can do that. Jake watched him like you watch a barbed wire fence, useful if you respect it, deadly if you do not. He did not speak. He did not have to. The road sorts men in time. It always does. We stapled a paper to the corkboard by the door. Rosie run Sunday, 10 am ride slow. Bring love. The waitress took a picture. She said her sister had a Facebook page that could get it seen. I told her I did not know what that meant, but I was grateful. The first Rosie run drew 12 bikes and 3 minivans. The second drew 40 bikes and a pickup full of dog food. By the third, there were cameras. A pastor showed up in jeans and boots and asked if he could say a prayer. I told him the engines already were won, but he was welcome to add to it. We rode the same route every week. Slow. Kid-friendly. A couple of us wore high-vis vests like crossing guards. At the overlook, we parked in the same order and told the same stories. Small towns like that, so do broken hearts. Sometimes the sidecar rode empty. Sometimes it did not. We never called a dog a replacement. We called them passengers. Some were skittish. Some fell asleep with their heads lolling and their guns flapping in the wind until the whole line of bikes looked like it was laughing. Jake learned to lead. You can teach the kind of steady he had. You just give it road and watch it grow. I moved back a spot in formation and did not die from it. Turns out you can follow without losing yourself if you choose who you are following. A month after the first run, a woman we did not know pulled up at the overlook with a boy in the back seat. The boy had the look I know too well now, world too loud. Eyes trying to find somewhere to land that did not hurt. Can he? She asked. Sidecar's at church, I said. Everybody's welcome. The boy climbed in. He kept his hands flat against the blanket like it was sacred. When Jake fired up the engine, the kid flinched. Then breathed. Then smiled so slow it made every old man there want to look away, because sometimes hope is too bright to stare when you have been living in the dark. Looks like we found another passenger. Phoenix said. I said, I think he found us. I still talk to Rosie. Mary too. You can call it crazy if you want. I call it keeping both ends of a promise tied. At the overlook, I rest my palm on the sidecar and tell them who rode today, who cried, who adopted, who said they were going to and finally did. Joe rides every week with her blanket up front. He does not hide from the cameras when they ask why. He says, because I was wrong, and then he says, because I am trying to be right longer than I was wrong. And the way the young ones look at him after that is worth 100 sermons. Scarface does not visit me in dreams. He had his ending. Some men get it clean. Some do not. I stopped trying to write other people's last chapters. I have got enough to do with my own. One Sunday after the run, Jake and I sat on the curb in front of the diner with paper cups of coffee. I handed him a small box. He opened it and stared at the patch inside eagle wings, turned into something simpler on purpose. 2 lines making a road, a small heart stitched at the horizon. What is this? He asked, voice small for a man built out of second chances. A reminder, I said, not of who we lost, of who we carry. He swallowed. You sure? Grizz. I was there when Mary said yes to saving you, I told him. I am just keeping pace. He stitched the patch on the old denim vest he uses when the heat's bad and said nothing for a long time. Not everything needs words. Some things need miles. If you are reading this, you might be where I was stuck between a goodbye you not want to say and a tomorrow you do not believe in. Maybe it is a dog. Maybe it is a person. Maybe it is the man you were before the world put a scar on your face no one else can see. Here's what the road taught me. What Mary wrote and Rosie proved, and Jake reminds me when I forget. Don T. Waite. Love does not live in someday. It lives in engines started, calls made, hands held, doors opened. Breakfasts cooked, routes planned, and stories told right now. Keep your promises, not the grand speeches, the small ones. The ride, the visit, the check-in, the blanket kept clean because it matters to someone small. Family is who shows up, blood if you are lucky, brothers by choice if you are blessed, strangers turned steady if you are brave enough to let them in. You do not replace what you lose. You make room. You harvest the love and plant it again. Different soil. Same sun. We end our rides the same way every Sunday. Engines off. Hats off. Faces turned to whatever horizon is offered. I put my hand on the sidecar and say 4 words the men around me now mouth along with me. Like a benediction that smells like fuel and salt and coffee and rain. Ride while you can. Then I add the rest, the words that were waiting inside me all along and finally found their way out where they can do some good. If you love someone, take the ride. Keep the promise. Start today. Kickstand up. Let us